Hello, Internet! Your boy Robert Teegarden back again. Today we're doing another product video. If you're new here, welcome. I post content on filmmaking tips and the business of being a creative. Hopefully you stick around and this is something that's of value to you. Today, like I said, we're doing another product video. This one is for You guessed right. I lost the mic there. Basically what I was trying to tell you is that we're doing a shoot for hop water. It's a spec piece and we're going to create a whole bunch of awesomeness. And I had all these different tools and things and cool stuff to say. But sometimes there are uncontrollable events and microphone's dying on me is one of them. So I'll just get back into the video in the place where it kind of logically picks up after setup, of course. And I'm ready to take a shot. And then I'll see you back here for the editing portion. Cool? Good. We are all set up for our first couple shots. These things are really going to consist of pour shots, a series of them, really three, kind of a top down, a side angle, and then some bubbles. We all like bubbles. We've got our lights set up. Again, we're using two Nanlite FS150s with modifiers, strip boxes specifically for side lengths. I have the diffusion in. I don't have grids on this time because I'm using this glass and I'm trying to keep the grid diffusion off of the glass. And then I've got my FS150 on the top with this dome light here, diffusing, adding some soft light. And we've got another one back here that's going to add some wash onto the backdrop. We're going to have this like kind of nice amber, beautiful beer-like color. I'm going to contrast that with the red that's in the background. I think it's time to just really get the shot on. Got our pour shots locked up. I wanted to walk you through a couple of things that I ended up doing to make these things work, or at least I think they work. I haven't seen the shots in the edit room yet, but the two things that I wanted to talk about is when I started to do the bubble shot, where you could see the bubbles inside the glass, I knew I had to backlight the glass, but putting an actual light behind the glass was not gonna really work. So I needed to make sure that I got light spilling in at a very fixed point. So the solution to that is to use what's called a snoot. And basically it's a very pinpointed mount that you can put on the end of a Boeing's mount adapter. It allows you to point the light in a very focused area of where you're trying to do. So I reversed the light that I was using as a fill light for the backdrop and shot it directly into the back of the glass. That gave some luminance to the back of the glass that allowed the bubbles to shine through a little bit more. The next thing I did with the bubbles is a trick that I saw where you use sugar, just regular table sugar, like granulated sugar, white sugar, whatever it is, and you pour it inside the carbonated beverage and it causes the bubbles to go over the top. This took a couple of things to massage, a couple of tries to make this work, because originally I just poured it all in and it flowed over the top. Not the take that I wanted. So what I ended up doing is cracking a fresh can, pouring a little bit of sugar inside of the glass and pouring the fresh can over the top of the sugar. And that's what gave us the kind of end result and desired effect. A little bit of trial and error with all of these things, but you know what? That's what you gotta do sometimes to get the shot to work. For this next kind of series of fruit dropping, or the can dropping into fruit, I had to get a little creative in terms of how I wanted to do this. So I ended up shooting the can just sitting on one of those foam blocks, the little photography, product photography blocks that I mentioned in a previous video. I'll link those things down below. They're super helpful. So I staged the can, sprayed it down, and then started dropping the blood oranges in different successions, shooting it at 240p. What I'm gonna do is key those out and kind of stack them in the way that I want to, so I can have this nice like speed ramping effect where it comes in, pauses, goes down, and it goes into the next shot. So I'm going to compose that image probably in After Effects and do very similar things for the mango shots that you're about to see as well. So I have what I'm going to use as 2-shot setup, one with the probe lens and one with just a straight 24 to 70, maybe even 100 depending on where I get to. I got that shot set up and composed, and I wanted to take a second. I'm actually going to roll tape on this camera too at the same time so you can see what I'm looking at from a compositional standpoint. Now my lighting is not all set up at this point, and it's definitely going to change. But a couple things that I just wanted to talk about in terms of composition that makes things work really well. The first is getting the distance between these 3 cans correct, and also making sure that there's physical separation between each one of these cans that the camera can actually see. I'm making the choice not to have what we would call tangent lines, which means that these cans would be touching one another in space in the composition. I don't tend to like that. I think that actually crowds and makes the image feel squished to me, and it doesn't give each character in that shot its own particular space. So what I want to do is create separation that way, and I do that just really by playing angles. This is where like your high school geometry teacher telling you like, hey, one day you're really going to be able to use this information, and you give a big middle finger like, when is that? This is when. For creatives, this is a perfect example of what that looks like. So I'm just pitching angles back and forth, and I'm moving things around into a place where I have even distance between these cans, all 3 of them. And then I'm creating separation again by pushing this can a little bit forward, this can a little bit backwards, and then I created height by putting, you guys can see it on this camera over here, another little foam block to raise things up. Next thing I did is I kind of organized these fake hops, which I'm really hoping will look okay on camera. They definitely seem like they're shining a little too much for hops, but hops aren't in season this time of year. That is the only solution I can come up with. But what I tried to do is make a nice kind of spill of the hops, and took a nice big branch and put that down the center, and then started to fill out and fan the image this way, so you can see as it's coming this way, you're having good kind of separation between all of these things. Covered up these areas over here as well, so you don't see this block back here. Made some nice little kind of wraparounds with the hops there. But I just want to talk about composition. It's really crucial, and spending a lot of time figuring those things out is the difference between having multiple shots or something you get back into post and be like, this just doesn't work, or the extra 15 minutes allows you to get a composition that's nicely put together and is pleasing to the eye because it's stacked well and there's good separation. I said last time you saw me in this environment that I would return talking about the edit, but I'm actually going to separate these into 2 different videos and keep one production and the other one post-production. There's just a bunch of things that I really want to go over, and as I got into the edit, it felt better to separate the 2. So with that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, if you like the video, like the damn video. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for post notifications if this is something that was of value to you and you want to tune into these things a lot more often. Once again, Robert Teegarden, posting content on a weekly basis, filmmaking tips, the business of being a creative. I hope I see you guys around here more often. Peace.